My printer's broken and my office at work was locked today, so apologies for reading from my phone. And it's been a slightly traditional apology for poets at readings. But just to make clear that this isn't something that I just wrote on my phone on the train over here. The way that we approached this was that I read several of Yuwon's poems in translation and chose one to respond to, and to respond to by interrupting it. I felt was the easiest way to do that, to sort of break it down. They're actually written in, Yuwon's poems are written in these wonderfully shaped movements of sort of line and use of the page with space, which I ruined. By sort of breaking it down into sort of 5 or 6 line passages that I could then write something in response to. The poem is called Windy Day, and it's sort of this quite intense meditation on the wind and happenstance, and triggered a lot of thoughts, I suppose, one of the things that I was able to sort of shape into some similar length stanzas, and that was more or less how we worked with this.
I'm going to just So I'm not an English writer, but I'm going to read it in English. This version is translated by the translator, Jake Levin. And he's also an American poet. So this translation version will be like English. It will be sound like English poem. So even though I'm not a fluent English speaker, I'll try my best to make it sound like real English. So wish me luck. Okay. Windy day. A bowl of cold low-fish soup outside on a windy day. The sociability and equality of everything that waves in the wind.
My father tells me that as a child I thought that the wind came from the trees because their murmuration was all I could measure and observe, and I would yell, "Stop it, trees," at the trees, O logical positivist.
And let us not forget the fortitude of a high-rise, the flap of the dress, a curtain hung outdoors, a working curtain, the freedom of long hair, and the thought that it is awesome for a girl to grow out her hair, and so that on a windy day, looking from afar, sitting in a plastic chair in front of a building, swaying slowly in the wind, elevated atop the plastic table, a hot bowl of rice and a cold low-fish soup. Because any time a bottle of soju is ordered and 3 shot glasses are clinked, the wind that blows is more sea than the sea, and more windy than the wind is the bowl inside the wind tunnel filled with cold low-fish soup.
This came to mind because I just opened the door to Starbucks and scattered a historian's marking across a long table, and the way he scowled at me suggested that I was just such a tree. The children turn their coats inside out above their heads to catch it like a sail. They Batman across the quad, and when my son says, "I am going to kill you," I try to gather up the pieces of the sweetness of his imagination. But this is bad editing. I should instead play dead and let the wind disturb my hair, establishing shot of a police procedural.
Now, a bigger wind is coming. Yeah, right, of course. Everything that shook in the wind will land together, and the table will be flipped, and the trees, and the dress will be hiked, panties flapped, and the soju bottles will fall in order, and right before every creation in heaven and on earth, flying, falling, erupts into bedroom.
Curtains sucked out of the open window waves goodbye, the lust and laughter. You laugh especially when there is nothing funny. The pieces of a broken wine glass land exactly where they're always meant to be. Maritime creak of the soon-to-fall tree, the debris from the tower block exactly as I pass, distracted by a scratch card. Little whirlwind in some graveyard picnic, which is to say, when I die the last thing I will do is laugh. When I die, the last thing I will do is laugh. When I die, the last thing I will do is laugh.
A bowl of cold low-fish soup, so that before the wind disappears, the final glass must empty, and inside that empty glass, a glass full of peace and wind, because the misunderstanding that all the winds of this earth are blowing right here, the certainty that this wind passes us, pretending it does not know us, the faith that all these plates and silverware who see us for the first time are putting our faces to memory, the delusion that all this is the chopsticking of the wind, a vain daydream.
And all children are animists, and what we lose are live stacks of papers in. Gale is left to lawyers, theologians, and philologists. My 2-year-old names every leaf. I was learning to act as a person recently, filter of the local imagination, enlighten the 5 points of the senses, some desire to be touched, called into focus, eclipsed by reading. All is reading. I reached out and I saw a man, but his horns were stubs like pollarded branches and blackened, and he said, "You have enjoyed everything, there is nothing left now." And I said, "Which wall shall I drive into?" And he showed me the wall, and where, and from how far I was to drive into it. And I said, "Yes, make us badly animated, air badly plotted, jokes that go over our heads, under our heads."
That all the while this alley will keep elongating, so that even the longest wind won't be able, in the end, to slip away. Or will become a wind that, in the end, has no length, because it has no end. So that before the eyes melt away cuttlefish, needlefish, halibut, octopus head, so that before the birds flying into the wind snatch up all the fish, we must sauce them in samjang and slam some garlic on them and lap them in seaweed. Yes. So that in your mouth is one for you, in my mouth one for me. Yes, because this is the sociability and equality of everything that shakes in the wind. But then I wonder, why did I cry today?
The wind's mistranslated political slogans. Sociability and equality for all who shake in the wind. Everything is social and equal for all good men. Everything is social and all good equals men. However, the social is not the same for all good men. But that is not all the same social good man. But it was not all on the same man. But it was not all on the same person. It was not all in one person. Everything is not in one person. All is not one. Zonkoine edwa, bolore chemek, butan badale.
Hey, don't stand there like that. Look over there. The soju bottles lined up are dyed the color of a bag of trees. And hey, instead of sitting in front of me looking at your phone, can't you look at the legs of the women passing instead or something?
I always am. The only true state is distraction. Collaboration too often takes this overly cautious tone, like I'm replying to your email when I'm actually with you, terrified at the top of a tower whose very purpose was to catch the wind, denominational call and response. There is something wrong with this microphone, and also with you.
So that just before bedroom, the strength of wooden chopsticks grab and eat the wind off the empty plate. So that we should admit from here on out, we won't be able to stop all the wind that blows into a single glass. So that we say, however we look at the wind that roars away, however we look at all the rocks that were pressed down like end stops, however we look at those rocks that will have to stop somewhere on a windy day, if we pour a cold glass of pop for the inebriation of everything that shakes in the wind, here is a glass for you, and a glass for me, so that if we leave it empty, we empty out the glass.